The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's Platinum webinar with your host, Todd Walters.
Thank you, Andrea. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're doing fantastic. Let's see. Let's just get right down to it here. We've got a lot of ground to cover in the time that we got together today, and I don't want to keep you all night anyway. We'll be done probably, I don't know, at least within the next 2 or 3 hours, I would think, sometime in there. So, so anyway, on your screen right now, I believe that I've shown this to you, is a PDF of our agenda coming up June 27, 28, 29. There's a handful of seats left. There may not be, I don't know, but it ain't very many, I know that. So, and I know some of you guys are still emailing and calling today about getting in on this. But let me say something about it while I've got your attention. On the 27th especially, one of the things that we're going to be looking at that we haven't done or worked on that I can recall at these millionaire agent boot camps is a social media aspect of it. So we've been doing a really good job of making money using social media. I'm not talking about running pay-per-click ads on social media. I'm talking about getting listings from your social media platforms, okay? So you can expect that to be part of the agenda on day one as well. So just to recap, the first day, June 27th, Orlando, Florida, at our Platinum Millionaire Agent Bootcamp. And if you're on this webinar, if you got an invitation to be on this webinar, you should be here. Okay, you definitely should be there. I can tell you that by the end of the first day, you will be able to leave when the workshop is over and get more listings. Okay, I just spent an hour on the phone with a Platinum member that they were looking for more listings. And when I was describing to them what they needed to do to get more listings, they weren't doing it. They weren't doing the things that we were talking about. And it's going to be some of that ground is covered in detail at this Millionaire Agent Bootcamp on June 27th. So day one's all about getting listings. Day two is about the people that you have around you. Okay? So one of the reasons that I was able to grow my newest real estate company that just started 3.5 years ago, basically in 4 calendar years at the end of this year, we're going to be over $300 million in sales volume. So if you want to know how that happens, it's with really good people. Like, I don't even have a real estate license. I don't have a broker's license. And it's a wildly successful company already, one of the top, in the area here in Georgia. I mean, come on. That's done with really good people. So you're only as good as your team. So we're going to spend the whole second day on that subject. From your admin people to your outside agents to your inside agents, all the way down to your courier. How are you leveraging the people that you're bringing on to get more business? Okay? And then day three is training on our Millionaire Agent platform. So as you know, we've got our own contact management system, CP Millionaire Agent, powered by Commissions Inc. So if you got the Commissions Inc. platform, great. You can flip the switch with your CSA, and they can turn on Millionaire Agent, which has all of our content, activity plans, and all these other things that we're working on right there in it. So training on that entire CRM on day three. Okay, so matter of fact, if I take you back to the coaching site, let me show you a couple of things here. You guys looking? So right here, okay, on the coaching site is a video. You'll see a special invite from Craig Proctor. Okay, see that special invite from Craig Proctor? And that's a video on this boot camp, this Millionaire Agent Boot Camp, which are different than our coaching level boot camps. So I would encourage you to be there. So go to the schedule tab, click on events, and you'll see it right there, June 27th, 28, 29, and you can reserve your seat, download the agenda, and be in Orlando at the Gaylord Palms. That's a great resort, by the way. It's got a pirate ship in the lobby. And inside the pirate ship is a bar. So maybe I should just put pirate ship bar on the agenda, and some of you guys would be more eager to come. So that might motivate me on some days, right? So anyway, so there you go. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. So took care of that business, got it out of the way. All right. So let's get and drill down right now to the topic that's at hand. I'm going to throw up on the screen here. I think I got a PowerPoint slide I wanted to show you. Here we go. This is our VIP buyer agreement. Okay? Now, I'm going to move relatively fast today, and it's going to generate questions. So you want to ask your question, you want to raise your hand, we want to open up your microphone so you can ask, and we can get your question right in there. So Andrea, as I'm moving through some of the content, we're discussing that, and you see a question pop up there that looks relevant to the moment, you can interrupt me, and we'll take those questions. Is that okay if we do it that way? Yes. She's saying yes with her mute button on. All right. So I want you to look at this PowerPoint slide here, and let me show you this. Okay? You guys see that? Do I need to blow it up? It says, we'll research and locate properties not readily available online and contact you when one or more match your home buying criteria. Unlisted properties, bank foreclosures, new construction, for sale by owners. Now, I don't know about your buyer agreements, but this is what ours say. Okay? Now, why do ours say this? Okay, let me paint the picture for you, and this will deal with the biggest problem that I think many people have when they're signing buyers to agreements. When you meet with a buyer and you get them signed to a buyer agreement, I don't think you really have too much problem doing that if you get face-to-face with the buyer. Is that right? If you do, you can weigh in. But when you get them signed to an agreement, and from that point moving forward, the agent's job is to go find houses. The agent's job is not to wait on the buyer to call them with houses the buyer has found. Okay? So this sentence didn't used to be here on this buyer agreement. See if I can blow that up a little bit here. Is that better? There we go. That's a little better. So that sentence didn't used to be there. We've added it over time with the advent of technology, or the advancement of technology, and the MLS being online. Okay? So let's describe the problem that we all have now that I've kind of put this into play and highlighted this for you and how this is supposed to work, so that you get more of your buyers buying homes faster. Okay? The problem is this. Sometime over the last several years, the MLS has become an online system available to buyers. You put homes in your MLS, they show up online, Google, Yahoo, MSN, wherever. People can go online, search real estate, just like they're searching the MLS. Okay, so there you go. So it's available to buyers online. But buyers don't know, or I shouldn't say that, buyers don't believe that they're getting access to everything. And for you as a real estate agent or professional to think that when you're sending buyers properties from your MLS, or if you've got Commissions Inc. doing it for you, you need to know that the buyers don't believe that they're getting everything. And you don't even know if they're getting everything. Like, we can point out obvious examples, right, of how they're not getting everything. Unlisted properties, for sale by owners, obvious examples. Typos, okay, just typos in the listing, they don't get delivered. So anyway, so obvious examples. So buyers believe, like the sun's coming up tomorrow, that they're not getting access to all the properties. So if what you do, listen very close, if what you do is sit down with buyers, sign them to a buyer agreement, and then send them on their way, telling them they're going to receive pictures and descriptions of properties, and they can drive by and see them on their own, and that's all you do, and you have conversations about just that, you're going to fail here. This is how you end up with 20, 30, 40 buyer agreements and only 1, 2, or 3 home sales from that number of agreements on a monthly basis. It's not how you do things, okay? Here's how it works. When you sit down with a buyer, you want to describe things this way. See, number one business principle here, one of the business principles, is we want to make it easy and fun for people to do business with us. And you've heard Crick talk about that business principle, okay? So we do it 2 ways. Number one, we will provide them with regular updates. We will provide them with regular updates from our home hunter service. That will send them all the new properties that match our home buying criteria from all the real estate companies in town, provided the information's in there and is accurate. And this will allow buyers to drive by and determine which properties they want to see. No question about that. But while that's going on, I'm going to be looking for properties that match the buyer's criteria. I don't know what they're getting and what they're not getting. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to go immediately upon getting a buyer agreement signed. I'm going to mobilize, and I'm going to find properties that match what this buyer's looking for. And I'm going to call them. I'm going to say, hey, I've got 3 properties I'd like to show you tomorrow. Okay, so when I'm training real estate sales teams with our private clients, say at the titanium level, one of the things that I've noticed is that they have conversations with buyers over the phone like this. Okay, so let me set it up. They meet with a buyer. They sign the buyer to an agreement. Everybody listen really close. They meet with the buyer, sign a buyer to an agreement. Buyer goes their way. Okay, the agent goes their way. Let's stop. That's not supposed to happen. Before the buyer goes their way and the agent goes their way, you set up a time to go look at properties. All right, so let's go look at homes. How about Saturday morning at 10 o'clock? Okay, does that work? Like you have an appointment to go look at property. Provided that the buyer is planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months, and I don't think you'll be meeting with them if they're not, and they're reasonably qualified. Okay, now what I mean by that, they don't have to be approved for a loan because that's typically something that happens after a contract comes along, but you can determine if buyers can buy or not. If there's red flags, and maybe you hold off on appointments, but no red flags. You should be making appointments at that moment to go look at property. There has to be a next step initialized, okay? And the next step is, let's go look at property Saturday, all right? So now, here's how it works. The buyer is going to get homes sent to them automatically from your home hunter service, Millionaire Agent, powered by Commissions Inc. Okay? And then you are going to go find properties. You're going to go look at homes from all different sources. MLS, active, expired, FSBOs, off-market properties, coming soon listings, whatever you got. You're going to go find properties, and you're going to call the buyer. You're going to say, I've got properties I'd like to go show you. And you just keep that wheel going. Most agents, as I mentioned, do it this way. They follow back up with the buyer, and they say, hey, buyer, have you seen any homes that you want to go see? So what do you think about the listings that you've been getting by email? Yeah? So, okay, well, let me email you some more houses. And it becomes a conversation about email. So the way that I instructed my real estate sales team, and you'd be wise to do it this way, is that after you sign the buyer to an agreement, don't have conversations about emails. There's nothing to talk about. Okay? Your job is to have conversations about going and looking at property and leveraging properties that you find to go and show them. So don't talk about email. It's a forbidden word. So you call the buyers up. Hey, I've got a couple of houses I'd like to show you Saturday morning at 10. Can we take a look at it? And that's it. So that's how this works. So you'll notice that I put this additional line in the buyer agreement based on problems that we were having in our business, which is why we're doing this webinar today, because I discovered that many of you are having similar problems. You got a lot of buyers signed to an agreement, but the buyers aren't buying. Well, the reason the buyers aren't buying is because most of the time the agents are not, it's how they do things. It's your system. It's your process. Set up buyer appointments to go look at homes, and the agent goes and finds houses. You don't talk about emails. You don't find homes and email them. You find homes and go show them. And if there's no homes to go show because nothing matches what they're looking for, you can't find it, you keep looking. And when you find them, then you call the buyer. Hey, buyer, got a couple of houses I want to show you tomorrow, 5 o'clock, before somebody else gets them. Can we go take a look? And that's the conversation that you have. You don't email houses. Now look, I know they're getting emails automatically. So let's talk about that. That is simply what we call a safety net. a safety net, okay? By the time they get those emails and they look at them, number one, you know how this works. They look at houses and they breeze right past homes that they end up buying down the road if they're still available. It's an email. It's a one-dimensional thing. There's nothing they can really derive from it, okay? And by the time they get them and start talking about it, looking at it, or you start talking about the friggin' emails, the property's sold, especially in most of the marketplaces around North America. It just doesn't work. So the email is a safety net, and here's what I mean by safety net. If you are out with other clients, okay? If you're out with other clients, or you're on vacation, or you're sleeping, okay, or you're watching the ball game, your buyers are still getting information. You're still staying in touch with them and becoming relevant because they're getting houses directly from you. That's all it does, is it allows you to keep a connection, but in no way will it allow you to, quote, sell a lot of houses. Okay? All right, so now, everybody got that? So that's the buyer agreement, and you can see that that's a critical thing. And this tells the agents too. Well, let me say this. I don't want to skip over that. If you look at this sentence that I'm grayed in right here, we'll provide you with regular updates from our homeowner service of all the new properties that match your home buying criteria. This will allow you to drive by and determine which properties you want to see. Well, I have my agents on my team, like that's how they're conducting business. I'm going to send the buyer homes, and then I'll wait on the buyer to call me. Or they do call the buyer once a week, for example, something stupid like that, and say, well, have you seen any homes you want to go see? Did you drive by any homes and see anything? Well, no? Okay, I'll see any more that you can drive by. So nothing gets sold. All right. So I think I'm being very clear on that. And you've got to train your team this way. Otherwise, they will begin to do business based on what this says. Yes, it says that buyers will get homes and they can drive by. It does say that, but that's not, we're not waiting. That's a service we provide the buyers. In the meantime, I'm finding homes on my own, manually. Ooh, got 2 or 3 right here, look good. Call the buyer up. Hey, I got 2 houses I want to go show you. I don't know if it's homes they've gotten or not. Just, this is how it works, man. And that's how houses get sold. People sell homes, not MLS systems. Okay? All right. Okay, so let's look at something else. Got another PowerPoint here, and we can point this out to you. So let's take a look here at a few things. All right. So anyway, now Andrea, if anybody had any questions along the way, you're more than welcome to interrupt me if it pops up. Okay. So buying a home is a process. It's not an event.
Well, we do have questions pending, so whenever you're ready to take them, just let me know.
Okay, let me make this point, and we'll go to some questions, and then we'll bring up a few other points on this topic. Okay. Buying a home is a process, not an event, which means that for some buyers, they're going to be ready to buy today. And I think everybody understands what I mean. You'll hang up from this webinar, and you'll look at your phone or your email, and there will be a lead from someone who wants to go look at one of your listings right away, and they're ready to buy the thing. Okay, that's pretty good. I like that, right? Or they're calling you on somebody else's property. I want to buy that house. So they show up today, they buy today. All right, but the majority of prospects don't. It doesn't work that way. They're earlier on in the process. So somewhere along the timeline, they show up early in the process, halfway through it, right at the end, right? So your job is to sift and sort these prospects even after you sign the buyer agreement. Who are the buyers that are most likely to buy? And those are the ones that are going to get in my car now and tomorrow and the next day until we got a house for them. Okay? So you've got that going, just like we do it on the front end of sifting and sorting the leads as they come in. You do it after you sign the buyer agreement as well. And on your sales meetings, this is what you talk about. Sales. Selling houses. Which buyers are ready? Which buyers aren't? How do we take the ones that aren't, put them into now? Who falls into the now category and who doesn't? And we'll take a look at that after we take a few questions here. So let's go back to Andrea. Andrea, let's make sure we take care of the questions we got coming in.
Okay, our first question from Brett. Do you use a different contract for investors? Curious to hear your thoughts. We have no problem with getting regular buyers signed up, but struggle with investors, even when hammering home the off-market properties.
Yeah, see, for investors, it's the commitment. An investor, look, they're in this business to make money. They're buying property for assets, not liabilities, as most of your buyers are. So the reason it's easy to get buyers to sign these buyer agreements is because they're just buying one house, man. One house, they're going to live in it, they're going to love it. It's going to become their world. Real estate investors, not emotional about that at all. They're going to buy the property, make money with it. Okay, so they don't want to be necessarily tied down to people who can't help them. All right, so you may have to add a clause here. So just ask the investors, hey, what's keeping you from signing this thing, man? Like it says, you can fire us if you're not happy. What's the holdup? And just don't tell you. Well, I just don't want to get in bed with one real estate agent. Okay, so what do you want me to add here that will make you feel more comfortable? See, if you're telling the investor that they can't go out and buy real estate properties with another real estate agent, then that's probably going to do them in. If they want to go buy an investment property with another agent, fine, because they're buying more than one house. They're real estate investors. They buy multiple properties. So you will sell a buyer one house. What's wrong with selling a real estate investor one home and letting him buy two or three with somebody else, if that's what he chooses to do, right? So now what you'll find is by giving investors the opportunity maybe to do those things, you'll end up with more of them. Okay? So you might just need to add that clause in there if you run into a snag with investors and getting them to sign off on. Give them some flexibility. Flexibility is the key to success on that, I think. Okay, so good question. Good answer. All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay, Linda says, how do we secure 3.5% of the purchase price if the listing agent happens to be one of your coaching clients? Their listing agreement shows 2.5%. Currently, I'm showing one of these this week.
Okay. So I want to make sure I understand the question. I think that the question is, it says 3.5% in the buyer agreement, but in the MLS it says something else. Is that the way you read that, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think
she's confirming yes.
I think the question is, if my buyer agreement says 3.5, and in the MLS or the other agent's offering up, say 3, how do you collect the difference? Is that what I'm reading? Is that what I understand?
I'm going to have her confirm yes. She's confirming yes.
Okay.
Right. I didn't want to be wrong.
Sure, right? Well, look, it's pretty simple. See, that is a topic. Didn't really plan on getting into that on this call. We've got some ground to cover, but I'll address it right quick. Okay, so, and let me say it this way. Our buyer system, okay, that you folks are paying for, okay, deals with you setting your fee when working with buyers, just like you're setting your fee when working with sellers. It's no different, okay? As a matter of fact, truth be told, at some point in your real estate career, if you're not setting your fee when working with buyers, you're not going to be able to grow your real estate business to the level that you want to, because fees in the MLS are going down for cooperating agents. They're not going up. So it's going to make it very difficult for you to make money working with buyers, just accepting whatever's in MLS, and it's going to be even harder to recruit really good agents to come and work on your sales team if all you're doing is accepting what is in MLS. So now, I like to say it this way. If all you ever do is grab buyers and send them houses that are in the MLS, that's all you do. And then you steer buyers to the homes that are only active in the MLS, and then only the ones that you make what you consider to be an optimum fee on. Okay, well, you're not going to have very many buyers. Okay, they're going to go away from you. So that could be one reason why you've got a lot of buyer agreements signed, and maybe you're not able to get some of these buyers to buy, because all you're doing is focusing on MLS listed properties. But the whole reason you get the buyer agreement is so that you get your fee, so you can show and sell them anything. So if you want to know how to end up with more buyers, get buyers signed to a buyer agreement where your fee gets established. Now you have the freedom to sell them anything. FSBO, off-market property, non-listed property, you can just sell it because you're going to get paid. So if the question from the member is how do we collect the difference between what's in MLS or what's being advertised and what's on our buyer agreement, well, you do that through the closing costs or through the proceeds of sale in most states. Not all, but in most. So in Georgia, for example, there's a blank in the purchase and sale agreement that says closing cost. So we just add the difference into the closing cost blank, and we negotiate it just like we do closing costs. And then there's a special stipulation on the special in the special stipulations that says that buyer agency fees, fee deficiencies can be part of the closing cost. That's how we do it. Now we work on this at our outside sales agent workshops in detail. We role play it out and that sort of thing. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't looked at the July in Atlanta Platinum OSA workshop, you want to look at that and be there. That's me training you, your team, your agents. You want to send your agents there, and we train them on how to do this. Okay. So I'm not sure if I got the question answered, but that's in a nutshell how it's done without walking you through it in detail and eating up another 15 minutes here on that, because I've got some other things in terms of getting buyers to buy. Okay, we want to work on that a little bit more here. So do we have another question, Andrew?
We have several questions that have popped up and a couple comments from Linda, so I was reading them to see if they were referencing what you were speaking about. She ended as saying she'll have to talk to her broker about that technique, and thank you very much for your response. We do have about 4 more questions. If you'd like to take them now, or would you like to continue?
No, let's take some questions.
Okay. From Sam, what's the best language to use when you don't sign them up, but they are reasonably qualified and motivated, just not signed up? How do you book showing and talk about signing up after the initial showing appointment?
Okay, so let me make sure I get this. So in other words, I get pigeonholed in somehow to run out and show houses, and I don't have a buyer agreement signed. And then when I go out, and then while I'm out showing properties, I want to try to redirect the buyer to sitting down and getting them on paper, sign an agreement. I think that's what the question is.
Yes.
So, well, that's a pretty obvious answer. Don't do it that way. So, and I understand that's a big. If you've got, for example, appointments calling back leads for you, they may just be booking. Because I've been like I stand in their office, I hear them make the calls. They're right here in Marietta, Georgia, and they're good at calling back the leads, no question about it. But in terms of getting the leads to meet with you face to face, so that you can get this agreement here that we're looking at in front of us signed, they're not so good at, because they don't use our system. They're not part of our system. They have their own system, okay, for doing it. So the conversations kind of go like this: hey buyer, have you seen any homes you want to go see? Can we show you some houses? Would you like to get together and talk about maybe the buying process and things like that? So there's no real offer per se, because they're not, they're not our people. They're not trained by our system. So if you outsource calling back the leads to companies like that, just understand they're not trained by you. They're not following the same system that you're following, not paying for the same system that you follow, and you run into those kind of issues. So my recommendation is don't do that. I'm not saying don't let those people call back the leads. That's better than not calling them back at all. But you want to call back the leads, close these leads on a face-to-face meeting before you go out and look at property. Okay, but let's suppose that happens. It happens, man. You get pigeonholed. You run out to a house. They don't like the house, and now you got to try to get back face-to-face with them. Well, it's pretty easy. Hey, it doesn't look like you like this house, Sam. No, we don't like this house. Okay, well, would you be interested in getting properties that you would like sent over to you, matching your exact home buying criteria from all the real estate companies when they become available, including bank foreclosures, distressed sales, company-owned homes? We've got a special system that will send those to you when they become available. Does that sound like something that would be very helpful? And the buyers are going to say yes. So you close for a face-to-face meeting. Okay, he says yes. Say, okay, why don't we do this? Let's get together tomorrow for about 30 minutes, or do you have 30 minutes now? We can sit down at my office or over here at this office or whatever, at your house or apartment, And we can run through that. I'll take down your exact home buying criteria using a very special form, and we'll get you set up to receive those. That way you're not running around looking at properties that you're not going to go buy. Big time saver. So that's how you do it. Just make the offer. So remember the offer, okay? And that's how you'll go about changing the outcome instead of when you're out there looking at homes and showing houses. You need these buyer agreements signed so you can establish your fee and not work for whatever is in MLS, or you don't even know what you're going to get paid. What happens if they want to go buy the home that's $500 commission to the buyer's agent? Okay, any other questions there, Andrea?
Yes.
Keep them coming. Yeah.
We have Lisa. What are some of the ways your buyer agents are finding homes not on the internet? Are they driving around? Are they using specific search words? What are some of the methods your agents use?
That's a great question. Actually, they don't have to go far. Most of you that are on the webinar right now are subscribers or members of our Platinum program, meaning that you have CP Millionaire Agent powered by Commissions Inc. That's Commissions Inc. That's Commissions Inc. that's been proctorized, has all of our content in it. Okay, so when you go to your CRM, to your leads dashboard, you can see all of the buyers, all the leads that you have, right? Well, a lot of those properties, or excuse me, a lot of those buyers have houses to sell. So they become possible listings. And you can actually sift and sort those people, okay, and turn those sellers into possible buyers. And here's how we do it. Listen real close. I'm going to fly through this. We're going to talk about this more when we get together at the boot camp. But we have what we call a buyer alert system. You guys have heard of property alerts? Okay, well, let's talk about buyer alerts. Okay, buyer alerts. As a matter of fact, I was reluctant to do this, but I'll show it to you. I'm going to go to my server, and I'll just show it to you as I walk through it. This is my server. You can see this is the Platinum folder, and in the Platinum folder, there's a lot of folders, a lot of materials. I'm going to go to Anaheim, October 2016. Okay, so I'm building this folder for Anaheim in October, putting materials and stuff in there for you guys to get and have access to when we get together in Anaheim, okay, in October. So right here, I've got a buyer alert example. Just click on that, check it out. Here we go. There's one from Rudy. Hey, Rudy, you guys see Rudy there? Let me blow it up. Okay, here we go. So you need listings, properties to sell buyers. Here you go. Tell the buyers who have houses to sell in your system that you have buyers. Hey, we just picked up 3 buyer clients looking for a home in San Gabriel between 500 and 950. If they subscribe to your home, you're thinking about moving, you should call me. Pretty simple. So that's a buyer alert system. Okay. In other words, leverage your current databases, okay, of buyers with houses to sell or possible listings. How about your bold leads? Some of you guys get gobs of listings, or excuse me, seller prospects from bold leads. How about sending your buyer alert to those guys? Okay. The obvious other examples would be the expired listings and the withdrawals and the for sale by owners. Okay. So as a matter of fact, there may very well be more expired, canceled listings and FSBOs in your marketplace than there are active listings. Another source would be Zillow. You go to Zillow, you'll see a lot of properties that aren't in your MLS. Agents put them there. So in other words, take some work. Take some work. Okay, good question and a good answer. Andrea, next.
Okay, Scott types in, our MLS views pre-printed materials with commission rates as price fixing. Obviously, we set the fee because we have the value-added services, but they still don't take kindly to it. Have you run into this?
Price fixing would be when a lot of people get together, companies, multiple companies across county lines get together and decide they're going to set a price. That's price fixing. But you setting your fee for your company is not price fixing. Okay, it's not. So the buyer agreement, we'll throw it back up here, yes, has a pre-printed fee in it because that's what we charge. That's our fee. So you just tell buyers, okay, our fee of at least 3.5% of the purchase price will be paid to our real estate company by the seller of the property that you buy. That's it. So no issues there. All right, next question.
Okay. Yvette, what form of marketing works faster to sell an individual house that has been listed for 2 months and now is at market price? Only 2 low offers received.
Well, if you got listings and they're not selling, it's overpriced. Okay, so if you got properties, and this is a little bit off topic, but okay, if you've got listings and they are not selling, they are overpriced. So we have to face up that, look, I've been guilty of this many times, 25 years. I've listed homes, I'm like, man, this is awesome house. I love this property. Definitely going to sell for $300,000 or whatever it might be. And it sits there. People look at it. They don't make offers. They go buy other houses. And the seller and I get together and agree that we love this house, but it's not selling. So I move the price down, it sells. So in other words, I've been wrong a lot of times. Just because I think it should be selling for a number doesn't necessarily mean it should be selling for a number. So, the marketplace tells us. So if a property's not selling and you're doing a really good job of it being exposed to people, for example, it's being shown, you got a pricing problem. So write this down. This will be good for everyone. We call it our early warning detection system, or critical mass sellers. You guys have heard about this? So we discuss this in depth at our Platinum Outside Sales Agent workshops, by the way. And again, that's coming up in July in Atlanta, Platinum OSA workshop. So critical mass sellers, early warning detection system. So anytime a listing had one or any combination of these 3 things, either any one or combo of these 3 things, we consider them critical. And we had to call and lower the price. Okay, here they are. Ready? Any listing that had been on the market for 30 days and no showings, that thing's critical. That guy's going to fire me if we don't lower the price, change the outcome. Okay? Any property had been on the market for 2 months and had no offers. No offers at all, 2 months. Critical. That guy's going to fire me if we don't change the outcome. Or they had a bunch of people through the house, say 12, 14 showings, no offers. That's a problem. Critical. Not going to sell. Lots of people looking at it, not making offers. Better change the outcome. So any one of those 3, or combination thereof, little flag would go off. My customer service manager says, critical seller. I would call them, and we would lower the price. And those were tough. Like, those people were mad. They're not happy. Their home's not selling. I mean, think about it. 30 days, nobody looking at the home. You might not want to wait that long, for your marketplace. I'm just telling you what we did here in Metro Atlanta for most of my 10-year selling. 2 months, no offers. That's a long time. Not that anybody make an offer. Bunch of people looking at the house, 12, 14. That's a lot of people looking at home, no offers, right? So any one of those, the seller was going to basically call up and say, you're fired. If I didn't call him first and discuss what we need to do to get the home sold. And it typically resulted in a lower price. Okay? Now, how do you lower the price and have an impact? Well, number one, you ask. Okay, so let's say Andrew is a seller, and I'm like, okay, Andrew, you're asking $200,000 for your home right now. If somebody offered you $190,000, would you take it? All cash, as is, closing 30 days. Would you do it? No. Well, what would you take? And you have that conversation. Okay? Another way to look at it is based on sales price to list price ratios. If your average sales price to list price ratio is 97% in your marketplace and you're not getting any offers, you're at the very least 3% off. At very least 3 percentage points off the price. Okay, so there's a scientific way to look at it as well. Anyway, so good question. Pretty good answer there. A little bit more than maybe you bargained for on the answer, but I like it. Good question. Any others, Andrew?
Yes, we do. We have Linda with a comment, success story. Thanks to attending the conference, I just sold a $1.25 million home that was on the market with other agents for over 2,000 days. Got both sides.
2,000 days.
More than 2,600 days. But I figured
2,600
even
days
just
on the
saying
market.
2,000, if that's not a statistical USP, I don't know what is.
A lot of things happen in 2,600 days. How many years is that?
That's a lot.
Yeah, if it's like, 365, times, that's a lot of days, man.
Since 2009.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what I was doing in 2009. I was just a little kid. That's great, though. Good success story. Yes, this is what happens when you guys come to the live events, all right? So it's very important that you do this. I don't know what you got going at the end of this month, 27th, 28th, and 29th of June. That Platinum Millionaire Agent Bootcamp is a freaking game changer for your business and getting more listings and changing the dynamics of your team and being more productive. The July Platinum OSA Workshop, me training you and your team on these things that we're talking about today. Imagine 3 days of that. It's a big deal to get to these live events. Not getting to those, it definitely costs you a lot of money. So I know it requires sacrifice, but you're rewarded for that. So be there. Okay, another question here?
Yes, we have Linda, and I think this is a follow-up from what we discussed earlier. It says, wondering if the buyer makes up the difference or if we can negotiate with the listing agent to get the difference from them. When do the buyers pay the fee?
Well, we typically were able to negotiate it into the deal. And let me just talk about that real fast, if that's okay. I'm looking for a special slide to show you about that. So let me throw that up here. I've got it. It's really good. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen. Okay. First of all, let's talk about two things. Setting the buyer's expectation and getting to the offer, okay? Then negotiating the fee so that you get it every time. Is that okay if I do that? So first of all, when you're at the house and the buyer likes the home, okay? They like the house that they're looking in. Then close on going back and writing an offer on the house. In other words, hey, buyers, it looks like you guys really like this house. Yeah, we really like this house. Well, great. If you like it, chances are other people like it, right? So it's best home for the money out of ones you've seen. Why don't we go back to the office, and talk about, what kind of offer to put together. So in other words, you have to close for the offer. Here's my favorite one, though. If you look right down here, you throw a little circle around it with my highlighter. Hey, buyer, this property is listed for $400,000. What do you guys think about the price? Well, I don't know. What do you think? Well, I think that, it's pretty good. Well, then you're based on your down payment of $30,000, your monthly payment would be X, so why don't we go back and make an offer on it? So in other words, you have to close. Okay, now, when it comes to negotiating your fee, okay, and building that in, that's just a matter of negotiating. So here's what's funny, is that you guys work really hard to negotiate the lender's closing cost. Many of you do, especially in the States. Okay, you work really hard. You work tirelessly. You give up your fee to get the lender their closing cost. All the while, they ain't done anything. So you got to negotiate your fee. Okay, you negotiate your fee into the deal. So in other words, if you make an offer on a $200,000 house of $190 and $5,000 in closing costs, and the seller comes back and says, I won't do that, I'll sell it for $195 and no closing cost, and you negotiate. So these $5,000 in closing costs are really important for the buyer there, Mr. Listing Agent. So I guess if you'll sell it for $195 and not pay any closing, then your seller will sell it for $200 and pay the $5,000. Is that right? And the listing agent says, yeah, you get us $200, we'll do that. So that's how you negotiate. So you negotiate, and you'll rarely have to eat your fee deficiency. Okay? All right. So let me move on to a couple of other things here and get this in because it has to do with what we started out with today. And then we'll go back to the questions, okay? And make sure that we get your questions answered. These are questions, okay? So right here on your screen, you can see it. Avoid this crucial mistake, okay? So when you get done with your buyer agreement, It is not the buyer's job to call you, ever. Okay? And it's not your job to talk to the buyer on the telephone, okay, and talk about emails and houses. Your job is to close them on going and looking at properties. Okay? We talked about that earlier in this webinar. The buyer profile system is simply a safety net. It's not going to sell you any houses. You've got to go find the homes. Okay? Everybody get that? All right. So it's very important that you run your business that way. And if you don't run your business this way when working with buyers, you're going to run into problems with buyer accumulation. Okay? So I got a good question the other day asked of me from Jim Petrell. He said, look, how many buyers can one agent even handle? You know, because he's got buyer's agents with, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 buyer agreements. And I'm like, well, how many could you handle working with? And he told me, he said, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 buyers at any given time. I'm like, yeah, it's not me. I don't know how I can, sell. There's only so much time you have in a month. If you're going to sell 4 houses a month, I mean, how many buyers can buy 4 houses? 4? How many buyers does it take to buy 4 houses? Well, you could probably only handle 7 or 8 buyers at a time in terms of communications and showing houses and all that, right? So if you got like 20 or 30 buyers signed an agreement, if you're the team leader, you got to stop. You got to put a stop to that madness and get more buyer's agents. Congratulations, you're doing a good job of getting appointments set, following up with leads, but you don't have enough people, and you need to go handle them. So what I instructed Jim to do was what you guys have seen before in the lead flow chart. So when you meet with a buyer and they're more than 2 weeks out from really going and looking at property, you got to get them back to the follow-up person. So when you sign a buyer to an agreement and they ain't going to be looking at property, they can't buy anytime soon, they're not that motivated to go and buy, you better get them back to a follow-up person. Okay, inside sales agent, just treat them like you don't have the buyer agreement signed, for example. Got to start over. All right, so let me show you an example here. I've got a nice slide here I'm going to throw up. Call it firm. So essentially, when you decide who you're going to get into your car, who you're going to invest in, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for financially stable people. They're interested in being your buyer client. They're realistic and they're motivated. So if they fall into this category, you're showing them houses. If they don't fall into this category, then somebody has to follow up with them. Because you can only handle, as a buyer's agent here, maybe 6, 7, 8 of these kinds of people that are ready to go and buy. You got 30, 40 buyer agreements signed, and you're just losing a lot of money. Get more agents that can handle the transactions, okay? They're capable, competent, and set the buyers up that aren't ready to do anything in a follow-up mechanism with your inside sales agent. Remember, they're getting properties from your property alert system, okay? But somebody's got to close them on looking at property, and those that are falling into this category will go look at property. So any questions about that, we need to deal with them before this webinar is over here and make sure that we're all on the same page with it. So, Andrew, you've seen that lead flow chart before, right? Okay, Andrew, are you still there? We got any other questions? Did I lose you? Hello?
I'm still here. Hold on one second. Sorry.
Okay.
I double muted.
Sorry.
We do have some more. From Mario, can you please repeat the language on how to avoid covering the deficiency?
Sure. First of all, congratulations to all of you guys out there that are asking about the fee difference. Okay? That's a great deal. So even with the members in our program here that use the system that have been around a while, they will tell you that the greatest thing that they do when working with buyers is getting their fee set and collecting deficiencies. At the sales meeting, this is one of the #1 topics. Getting buyers out the door to go look at homes with a signed buyer agreement and collecting your fee that's on the buyer agreement. Okay? If you don't do that, you're not going to have a team. Okay? Because you won't be able to fund it. You won't make money and you won't keep agents around. So congratulations to everyone who understands that and gets it. So when it comes to negotiating the fee, you only really have this 2 or 3 times, and then you'll be an expert at it forever. Okay? So in MLS, there's going to be a fee, probably of what, let's in this example say 3%, and your fee is 3.5% on your buyer agreement. So it's a 0.5% deficiency. It's a $200,000 home. That's $1,000. So you put that into the closing cost blank. Seller paid concessions, $1,000 towards closing costs. And if the lender wants money in there, then you throw it in with it. Okay? But your fee comes before the lender's. Okay? And you negotiate it. Okay, as a matter of fact, let me show you this slide here. I've got a pretty good slide. Hang on one second. Got to pull back up my buyer agent manual. That's what I'm looking at right here. Let me erase my drawings. Got this buyer agent manual here that I pulled right off the coaching site. I'll give you guys the ID numbers here in a minute. Let's see, here we go. This is what we used. You guys can see that? It's a PowerPoint slide, so I can probably highlight that. Closing cost, as referenced on page 1 of the purchase and sale agreement, include but are not limited to. And you can see that all these fees are just standard closing cost fees in the United States of America when using mortgage companies. Okay, Canada not so much. Okay, but in the United States, pretty common. So the majority of you that are in the States here, this goes into the purchase and sale agreement. You have to tell everyone involved in the contract that your fee deficiency that's buried into the closing cost, just like it is right here, is part of the closing cost. Now, once we do that, check this out. This gets sent over to, in Georgia, we send this over to the closing attorney, title company. And we just tell them, hey, this is what's in MLS. This is what's in MLS, okay? But our buyer requests that, in this case right here, $1,000 of the closing cost being paid by seller be paid to our real estate company at closing as per the buyer agency agreement that is attached. Okay? So that's how you collect your fee deficiency. And again, negotiating it is just the same way you negotiate closing costs. You just counter back with the price being raised to include the closing cost, always. Negotiate. Don't be a messenger. So this is funny, right? Most of us negotiate deals this way. I shouldn't say most of us. Most real estate agents, you guys don't do this because you're way better than the majority. But the majority would do things like this. The listing agent would counter back, and they wouldn't even talk to him. They just get the counter, like it'd be a fax or email or something. And they just call their buyer, and they say, okay, buyer, we heard back from the seller. Like they talked to the seller or something, right? We heard back from the seller, and they won't do your $190,000, but they will sell you the home for $195,000. What do you want to do? And the buyer's like, okay, I'll take it. And if you're trying to negotiate your fee deficiency, it falls apart because there's no negotiating. That's called being a messenger. And you know what they do to messengers? Right. They shoot them. Don't be a messenger. All right, so let's take a couple more questions here. And then I got a special announcement to make there, Miss Andrea.
Okay, we have Sam with a follow-up to his question earlier. What if we did, let me start that over, I apologize. What if we did that and met with them? They did not sign up, but they are good buyers. Should we work with them as plan B?
Yeah, we just didn't do that much. We just didn't do that much because we typically end up getting burned. In other words, our buyer agreement, like we told them in the buyer agreement, let's throw that back up. Check this out, guys. Let me show you this little clause. Here it is right here. Can you guys see that? Let me blow it up. I think you can read that. Let me blow it up a little bigger. See if I can get that on the screen for you. Here we go. So you can see that little gray area right there. Performance of the 11-point services stated here are conditioned upon our team being paid as dictated above. In other words, if we don't get paid, we can't do these things. We can't provide these extra services and results. I mean, let's just look at this one. Okay? So this is the kicker. So when I get questions like that, and that's a good question that you just asked, by the way, but here's why you're not getting people signed to the agreement. It's a commodity. See, for example, if I tell buyers that, hey, I got something, I got access to houses that you can't find on your own or on the internet or from anybody else. Let me just show you some of the houses that you can't find. And I show them my database of buyers with houses to sell. Right? Most all of you have a database of buyers, and a third of those buyers have houses to sell. So I can show that to my seller. So look here. Check this out. Here's an email that I sent to this database of buyers last month, and I show them the buyer alert email. We were looking at that. Did I still have that open? Yeah, right here. I show them the buyer alert email. Hey, I sent this email out to the buyers in my database that have houses to sell. Here are the responses I got back. Look, 5 people that don't have their house on the market yet, okay, called or did this. So would you like to have access to properties that you can't find on the internet? So when buyers won't sign a buyer agreement, trust me, it's because you probably didn't do a good enough job. At least you got to tell yourself this anyway. You got to tell yourself that we didn't do a good job presenting value. All right, so I'm gonna point one more thing out to you guys that I think is a game changer when it comes to this. I just got to go to the file library to do it. Okay, so you can follow along here. I'm going to library, file library, and I'm going to go into file library down to Platinum VIP Buyer Systems Library. Okay, so I went to the Platinum VIP Buyer Systems Library, and here it is right here. Print this off. ID 997. Write that down. ID 997. VIP Buyer Demonstration of Value Attachments. So many of you have no problem getting buyer agreement signed. You're doing pretty well there. But if you start to find yourself in a problem, not getting the agreement signed like you want to, it's weird, then you probably have enough value, it's just not being demonstrated. Okay, so you want to demonstrate the value. So how do you demonstrate value when looking at a PowerPoint? Well, this VIP Buyer Demonstration of Value Attachments document will show you ways to demonstrate value during the course of a presentation, your buyer presentation. Okay, I'll give an example. One example here. So let's suppose, here it is. Here's an example. Home warranty. You show them the home warranty. Here's the home warranty. Here are all the things it covers. If it breaks, they get a new air conditioner. In other words, I show them the work. They can feel it. They can see it. Right? As an example. All right? How about this? Present offers on your behalf. Negotiate in your favor to help you secure the property at the best possible price and terms with all these other provisions, special stipulations, amendments, exhibits, and addendums. We would just carry along in a notebook all of the contracts, addendums, exhibits, special stipulations, everything. We just show them all the forms. Here's an example of all the forms: appraisal, contingency, or condition, and seller's disclosure statement, and all these things. We just flip through it, and they're like, holy crap, that's a lot of stuff. Okay? That's demonstration of the value. And then you can show them offers. Offers that got accepted, offers that got rejected. Okay? So anyway, so that document there, back on the coaching side, I'll pull it back up here so you guys can find it. Here it is. ID 997. VIP Buyer PowerPoint Demonstration of Value Examples. Okay, so good. All right, very good. All right, so we got time for a couple more questions here, and then I got to close this up, Miss Andrea.
Okay, Gina says, I do not understand the good negotiation of the closing costs. The seller pays us an extra fee. Please go over that again.
Yeah, I think probably because some people are in Canada, and I don't know where she is, but if you're in Canada, you wouldn't have a clue what really that meant. But in the States, mortgage companies rule, and mortgage companies charge a lot of fees to make the loan. Closing costs is what they're called in most areas of the United States of America. So these closing costs turn into thousands of dollars, up to 3% of the purchase price. It's crazy, okay, that the mortgage companies get in return for making the loan. In Canada, not so much so. It's kind of done like the old days, where banks, several banks, not very many, but there's several banks that control most of the loans. They're on all these fees and closing costs. The interest rates might be a little bit different or higher to compensate because they still sell the money to the secondary market, which means it's marked up. Okay, so it's just done a different way. More competitive in the United States, so interest rates a little bit lower, but they charge closing costs and fees. In Canada, interest rates a little bit higher. Okay, no closing costs to make up the difference, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of how it's done. So that's what closing costs are. And here's what we'll do. On the coaching site, there's a webinar you can watch about this. Okay, there's a webinar you guys can be watching about this. I'll have to pull it up and find it for you. It's going to be in the library, webinar library. Okay, so if you go to libraries, you click on webinar library. There's a webinar that's 100% nothing about the entire VIP buyer system. Okay, so you click on Platinum Session over here, Platinum Session, and when you do, it's the Platinum VIP buyer system. Okay, matter of fact, if I scroll all the way down, it may be the very first one we ever loaded in there. Here it is. Check it out. November 16, 2009, Platinum VIP buyer system. That is a really good webinar. It's a training webinar for Platinum members. When they come into the program, they're training their agents on collecting fee deficiencies. So I walk you through the entire buyer system, and I work with a sales team, and we role play through collecting and negotiating fee deficiencies. So that's a great resource if you don't have it. Good question. All right, we got time for another?
Okay, John says, wouldn't a savvy buyer recognize the buyer agency fees are on the buyer side of the settlement statement and thus actually being rolled into an increased price and then paid by the seller?
How about that? It's a good question. It's a good point, but the answer is no. So, because you can make the same argument about the seller's taxes. You can make the same argument about the seller's mortgage payoff. Okay, you can make the same argument about the bank's fees, the closing attorney's fees, the title insurance fees, everything, the local county taxes. You could use everything as that same argument. So the answer is no. Nobody expects you to go out there and do a great job for them for nothing. As a matter of fact, buyers would freak out if they knew that you were out there showing them homes and you have no idea what you're going to get paid. That you're willing to work not knowing what you will end up getting paid. Like, that's pretty funny. Because if you reverse the roles, hey, will you work and not know what you're going to make? People don't expect that. This is just kind of the way it's been done in the industry since the advent of MLS and fees getting advertised in there. Well, those days are coming to an end. We're just going back to the way it used to be before all that. So if you don't do it this way, just so you'll know, you don't have a choice in the matter if you want to grow a real estate sales team business. If you're not setting your fee, you're going to go out. You won't be able to work with buyers because you can't hire people. You won't be able to afford it. The money's just going down. Okay? Plus, I'm going to end it with this. Listen really close. What would a buyer say about you if they knew that how you did business was only send them properties that are active in the MLS, and then only steer them or show them the ones that you make an adequate fee? What would buyers say if they knew the truth about many of you? Well, you know what? You already know what they say. Open your door. Just go out to your office door and open it and let me know how many buyers are waiting in line for you. Right, not very many. See, that's why buyers believe that real estate agents limit their selection. Remember the buyer presentation when we get to the buyer profile system? Same thing in our listing presentation. We talk about our buyer profile system. We address a common problem in the industry, is that real estate agents pick the houses, send them to the buyer, try to show the buyer even few, right? Try to sell them one. In other words, buyers are scared to death their selection is being limited. That's what they think of real estate agents. So charging your fee gives the buyer what they want, access to everything. Okay, good question, and an even better answer. All right, let's go wrap up our webinar today, guys. So I know everybody's got to go sell some houses. Good questions. Andrew's going to send me the questions that didn't get answered, and I'll try to get some answers to those and get them out to everyone if that's okay. All right. I want to personally thank Jim Bottrell for texting me during the webinar and telling me to stop it with the one-off questions. See there, man? I got you. So, but anyway, no, we appreciate it, and he's having some fun in his marine way. Just so you know, Andrea, while I'm doing these webinars, I probably get 15 or 20 text messages throughout the webinar. So when you hear me hesitate and there's dead air, I'm probably reading my phone because somebody's texting me.
Got it.
Matter of fact, you've texted me before and say, "Hey, Todd, we can't hear you."
Right.
when there's a technical problem. But anyway, all right, so look at great job, great webinar, good instructional webinar on working with buyers and getting more buyers out the door to buy houses. So hope you enjoyed it. It's recorded. Andrew will get it up on the coaching site for you guys to watch again and replay. So with that, let's go sell some houses. We'll see you guys in Orlando. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This officially ends the Platinum webinar for today. Everyone have a wonderful afternoon.